Good afternoon, everyone. We have folks filing in here, so we're going to give folks an opportunity to get in, and then we're going to get started. If you have cameras on, go ahead and fire those things up so we can see your smiling faces. And this will be a interactive webinar, so we fully hope that you'll stay engaged with us. Paul and I have some great case studies to look at this time. And yeah, we'll be looking for your input both verbally and in the chat. So when one of us is speaking, the other one will be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions and you too embarrassed maybe to speak up verbally, go ahead and throw it in the chat, and one of us will be monitoring that at all times. And so speaking of the chat, can we have you throw in the chat where you're from? I can tell you I'm here in Pennsylvania, and Paul is in Ottawa, Canada.
And it stopped snowing.
And it finally stopped snowing.
No, it's been quite warm, actually. We're into spring, just like you folks. Well.
Okay, got someone from Lancaster, a homie. Thank you.
Close by, yeah.
I see Danelle. Danelle, where are you from? Danelle's in Camp Hill, so just up the road a bit. Welcome.
Not too far from you? Yeah.
No, about an hour, yeah. Not too far away. I see an M. Nolt. Welcome. All right, it's a couple minutes after the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And as folks pop in, I'll let them into our little party here. So welcome everybody to the, I guess this is the fourth installment of the monthly webinars Paul and I are doing. And they all center around the theme of both employee experience / engagement and also candidate experience. And so it's the candidate experience we're really going to focus on today. And most specifically, why it is that today's top talent really expect a curated candidate experience. And the operative word you're going to hear us repeat a lot today is this whole idea of a curated experience. We really have to think about how we're planning out what it's like from the time even before someone applies for your open position. What's their experience like with your organization? And that's why we have to curate them. Just like you might curate customers and bring them along kind of the sales channel, Paul's going to share with you a candidate funnel that we want to work our candidates through to get them to the point that not only they're applying, but that they're staying in the system with us all the way to hire. I know some of you are probably feeling the pressures that my clients feel, not only because of the shortage of talent, but that in some cases they've gone and done so much work to get people into their candidate funnel only to have good candidates fall away at various points in the process. And so we want to focus today on helping you see where people are falling out, but more importantly, why they're falling out and how we fix that. So we're going to jump right in here. And ultimately, when I talk to clients about things, oftentimes I'm still hearing moaning and groaning about today's generations, and that they're entitled and they're demanding. But the reality is that the whole labor force's expectations have changed. And honestly, when you think about it, yes, COVID had a big impact on our expectations for service and what we expect out of our experience in dealing with one another and with organizations. And so it's not just about the, quote, younger generations. All of us are experiencing a change in what we want out of life and what we want out of work and how we want to be treated. And so ultimately, our goal today is to get you from this place where maybe you're feeling like it's impossible to keep up, and instead you're thinking, you know what, I know how to fulfill today's candidates' needs, and I know how to foster them every step of the way to get them not only through my full candidate experience and hiring funnel, but that they're showing up for work that first day, they're fired up and they're ready to join your team. So this series and ultimately this particular webinar is for you is if your recruitment efforts have not been generating the talent pool that you need. And I hear this, I know that there's lots of folks out there struggling today, and I can tell you, regardless of the type of industry that you're in, everyone is feeling the pain. And everything I hear is about how someone could go work in a warehouse for Amazon, or they can go work at the local convenience store and make more than what we're paying our entry-level employees. So it is a real challenge. And we're going to talk about how we can combat that without just throwing more and more money in terms of pay at people. If you're having trouble staying competitive with the talent you're bringing in, and therefore your jobs are staying open longer and longer. I mean, I'm hearing reports of jobs that used to be able to be filled, in a matter of weeks or a month, staying open for months on end. And in fact, Paul and I worked with a client where one of their key roles was open for 18 months. That's the kiss of death for most businesses, especially if it's a key role. So we're going to address that today. And finally, this is for you if you want to become known as a great place to work. And I don't mean, have the accolades of, quote, best places to work and that whole system that's out there. I'm talking about the word on the street is that you're a great place to be, that you take care of your people, you take care of people before they're even in your doors, and that's going to go a long way. So if you're struggling with any of these three things, the next hour is going to be really insightful for you. So why are we doing this? Well, hey, ultimately, we want to make a difference. And that's why we've kept it free. We want folks to understand and embrace the idea that in order to win this war for talent, we've got to make a difference in the quality of the American and Canadian workforces. And we enjoy seeing people thrive, and we love seeing our clients thrive when they implement the things that we're talking about. And so we decided, why don't we share them with the world so that we can have a greater impact. Now, before we get into today's, I want to tease next month's topic, and that is the essential components of a world-class employment brand. So it's almost the jelly to today's peanut butter. We're going to curate the candidate experience to get them in the door. Next month, we're going to talk about, okay, how do we make our brand the best that it can be? And that's going to be May 24th at noon. I believe that is a Thursday, I think, before the long holiday weekend. So maybe you tell your bosses, hey, I'm going to do this webinar at noon, and then I'm calling it a day for the 4-day weekend. So what we're going to cover today, why candidate engagement begins well before you ever even post your job openings. So you'll see, again, I don't want to steal Paul's thunder, when he starts talking about his recruiting funnel, all the things that we've got to have in place before we ever post that job. Second, we're going to look at social media and what's going on your social media pages, and if there's anything going on your social media pages, because people are looking at them, and they're looking at them before they ever even apply. And third, Paul's going to take you through 6 specific steps in the candidate journey that you've got to nail. Each one of those steps has to be curated, thought of, processed out in order for you to win this war on talent. So those are our commitments that, by the top of the hour, we'll have knocked all of these out of the park for you, and you'll be ready to pull in some great talent. So why listen to us? Well, my name is Ed Crow. I am the talent transformation expert for companies seeking 8-figure growth. I've been doing the whole HR thing for over 30 years and have my own business for, about the last 20 or so. And I love working with clients on their recruiting situations, scenarios, challenges, and then also on their employee development when they're in-house. So I'll let Paul introduce himself to you, and then he's going to take away the first part of the webinar.
Thank you, Ed, and great to be here with all of you. I'll just give you a little background on why I'm a doctor. I started out as a chiropractor, and in that time, for over 16 years, I spent in practice. I was just working in the downtown area and hearing all these government workers, because that's the kind of town we are, coming in and complaining and griping about all their aches and pains and the stress that they were getting at work. And so I started to study the impact of physical, mental, and emotional stress on employees. And I really liked that aspect of it. And then I made a big career leap and I went into brand storytelling and ghostwriting on the corporate side with my company, Expert Author Press. And I got to see the other side of the equation and working with employers and getting to hear their stories. And then Ed and I met through a webinar just a lot like this, where he contacted me about getting his story told. So I listened to Ed and heard all about how he worked with companies to help with hiring exactly the right talent to fill key roles so they could drive bottom line results. And we helped develop his story. And he thought, hey, you know what? Lots of my clients, lots of the companies I work with really need to tell a better story about what they're offering to their employees. And that's how we ended up in this partnership and doing webinars of this nature. So I'm going to get you to let go of the sharing there,
I'm
Ed, so
gonna
I can
stop
take
my
over from
share.
here.
Go for it, Paul.
All right, share screen. Just bear with me one moment here. All right, looks like we were before. Okay,
Hmm.
and next, so we'll move on to rethinking recruiting. So when we're talking about the candidate experience, what we're talking about is a candidate what the feelings that the candidate has and how it is for them when they start engaging with your company looking for employment. And in today's world, we have to think about where those candidates are at. And I know Ed was talking about the generations out there today, and we think that they're entitled. They got short attention spans and they're always on their devices. Well, that's the reality. And you know what? You probably have a short attention span as well because of this device and watching all those, I don't know, TikTok videos or all the little um, pieces of things that are just designed to grab your attention. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. So we need to be well aware of that with the information that we're putting out and make sure that it's gripping enough for them and that the most important key items are up front right away, or they're going to move on. And then the other thing that we need to do is make sure we're consistent, because in today's day and age, as people are looking all over the internet and finding information in multiple places, if they start seeing inconsistencies and you say one thing on LinkedIn, you say another thing on Facebook and something different on LinkedIn, and there isn't any sort of brand consistency across your pages, it looks it looks kind of sketchy, it's untrustworthy, and people move away from that. So you need to make sure you have that consistency. And then finally, you have to be engaging. They have to have a way of interacting with you, and they need to feel like part of something. Like they can, if they post something, they're going to get a response, or if they ask a question, someone will answer them. And that's very different from what we've been used to in the old way of recruiting, right? Because people applied to us, and we only got back to them if we felt like they were of any use to us. But now you got to talk to everyone. And it doesn't mean that everyone is going to get the same weight of your interest or attention. It just means that they know that there's somebody on the other side of any of those application sort of portals. Now, here are some of the things that you absolutely need to understand about candidates today, and it's not just the generations, it's everybody in the workforce and what they're doing, how they're interacting, and uh, how they're checking your company out, because they're going to look you up. And think about it. You know, anytime you meet someone, what is the first thing that you do? Right? You just go straight into social somewhere. You look them up on LinkedIn, see who they are, where they've been, where they've worked, what they've done. Try and engage some insight into, you know, kind of how old they are, what kind of vintage they've got, just by seeing, you know, where did they study, or where have they worked, and time frames. And so you've got to be aware that your digital platforms are top notch, and they have to portray you properly. And a matter of portraying you properly is like, do you actually have a framework for how you put yourself out there? And that's what the next webinar is on, your employment brand. How do you like to show yourself to the people that are looking to work with you. And then they want to know what's going on in your company real time. It's not enough just to have static things posted in writing on your website. You need pictures, you need some video footage, you need to show, well, what was happening last week, what's happening today. If there's something exciting going on in your company, or you're breaking new ground somewhere, there's some sort of project launching, if there's something in the media, they want to know that there's current events happening at your company. And you'll even see that a lot of the companies that are doing this right, they have specific social media pages just for showing what's going on behind the scenes in the company. And they want a better digital experience. Nowadays, we're on these phones all the time, right? And we're expecting things to load now. If it takes more than like 20-30 seconds and that little spinning wheel of death is going, we're flipping, we're onto something else, because we don't have time for that. So everything needs to operate smoothly. If you have a portal where people apply, do make sure that when you click through it, that everything works. Your links work, your the submit button is going to work, because if someone fills out a whole page and it doesn't submit and they have to do it again, they'll be angry enough to just move on, and that could have been the next person that could have filled that role that you've been having open for a while. So keep that digital experience really top notch. Make sure you check things and recheck and see that they're working. And I'll show you that this can be a problem even for some of the biggest companies out there. Now, we talked about the trustworthiness of businesses, and with this online era, and with everything being available online, we need to make sure that we can build trust, because trust is at an all-time low. So online, adults are more likely to believe that a company is trustworthy when they have a brand that is portrayed and well built. So it's really critical when you're hiring that you have a good employment brand. 43% of US adults online would favor a company that takes a stand on the social, environmental, or political values that they believe in. So maybe maybe your beliefs do polarize you or make you only appeal to some people. It's better than trying to appeal to everyone, because if you try to appeal to everyone, you can end up appealing to no one. So stating what you stand for can work in your favor. Of course, we don't want to necessarily always be going into those like politics, sex, and religion, all those things that get you in trouble. But it is good, like in terms of companies, say like Patagonia, which we've discussed in the past. They have a very strong environmental viewpoint, and the people that utilize Patagonia's products, they're also very environmental and like to preserve the spaces that they like to play in. So displaying your values is key. And then finally, 68% of customers went to a competitor after a single negative experience with a brand. And when this comes to your employment brand, it just means that if they had a problem trying to apply, or no one ever got back to them from your company because maybe an email got missed or something like that, that can be enough to turn them away and have them never want to apply again. So you want to make sure that those aspects of the experience are well managed.
And I think, Paul, one of the things you and I have heard regarding that is, we've had people say, well, what does that have to do with employees? I mean, you're talking about customers. And one of the things I know you and I have tried to really impress upon folks is that, well, these candidates are your customers. If you're in HR, that's your customer base. That's who you are trying to convert from being a browser and shopper to a buyer, right? So we're finding that those stats are very similar to what we would see in the employment world.
And on that note, it's really interesting, the sort of the importance that we place on customers, right? The customer comes first. We would never do anything to put them off, and we want to keep them engaged, even if they're not buying now. We think they've expressed interest, so maybe they'll buy later. So we want to keep showing them, oh, you didn't want to buy on this. Well, maybe you'd like this, or maybe you'd like this, and you'll notice, Amazon sends you things that you might like, and so does so do most stores. You'll see the things showing up in your emails, showing you products, clothing, things that you may be interested in just because you bought or you even looked at something before. Can you do that for people that have checked out your jobs page, your careers page? And that's what some of the greatest companies out there that are known as the best places to work, that's what they're doing. So we want to be looking at these things as well. Now, this candidate journey, the recruitment funnel, we actually developed this based on the customer journey and the sales funnel. And what you'll see is that when you want to when you want to get a pool of candidates for hiring and for any of your open positions, you've got to consider candidate generation, candidate nurturing, and then candidate onboarding. And same with the sales funnel, you're going to try and generate leads, then you want to nurture those leads, and then you want to sell and you want to go for the sale. So it's the same principles, but it starts with awareness. Do they even know that you exist? Like, do they know that they could get a job with your company? Or have you just been down the street from them and they have no idea who you are and what you do? You're not going to get anyone that way. And then how do you get them to express interest? And this can be anything from what's going on your social media, showing the cool things that go on in your company, how the other employees enjoy their experience of working at your company, what kind of equipment that they get to work with, the projects that you have running, maybe any sort of media if you're doing anything great in the community that increases the awareness of your company and the type of work that goes on there. And then the consideration or the aspect of it, that happens when you start nurturing those people that express interest. And that will happen with your website, your social media pages. And from there, you want to prompt them to apply for open positions. And we're going to go through a couple of sites and a couple of companies that have done this to varying degrees in a very good manner, and we'll show you things that you can do. And of course, we're just saying, hey, take the next step, do one more thing that can increase the odds of somebody staying engaged with you. We realize that a lot of these companies have invested a lot of time and effort into developing this candidate journey and curating their experience. What I want to see happening for you today is that you can just gain insights and start looking at, hey, what can we do with our experience? Or maybe you think that you're hiring the same people as everyone else, and so you're in this sort of dogfight for the talent out there. But maybe there are things about your company that you don't consider that special, but the people out there think that's really amazing, and that's something that I want to be associated with, or that's something that I want to do, just because you're a little different. And that's where when I listen to somebody talking about what it's like in their company, I start thinking like, who exactly would be interested in the nuances of your organization? And what is it that has a particular appeal to that one specific person who could apply to 10 different places to do the same thing, but would be really drawn to your place of work because of the specific personality? And that's got something more to do with your employment brand and what I do when I listen to employers talk about their companies. And you know what, at the end of this workshop, we have a QR code, so you can scan that and you can tell us about your company. And if you want to get Ed and I on a call and we can look over your website, the careers page, and the process that you have for application, we can give you some tips and pointers on what to do. And we'll do that for you free of charge. It just gives us a chance to get to know you a little better and connect. And we can learn if there's anything that you need help with and that we can help, then possibly there might be a fit. But other than that, there's just absolutely there's no commitment to doing that. So just keep that in mind at the end of this webinar. Oops, let me just switch the slide here. So I'm going to share HubSpot, which Ed and I use HubSpot to mail to you, to send out reminders and things. It's a platform that actually helps you. It's CRM. It helps you manage the customers. And we fully realize that there a digital platform and a lot of things are virtual there, but they do have offices and people work in them. So they are, they experience the same things that we all experience when we're trying to find talent, but they're doing a great job of showing why people should work there. So let me just stop this share and I will get the next share going.
While Paul's doing that, this is where we'd like to get some input. So as Paul's walking you through the various pieces of HubSpot's website and their careers pages, um, please chime in and ask, why we think, if we're saying, hey, this is really cool, please chime in and ask us why we think it's cool or what you think is so unique about this particular site. Please let us know in the chat. I'll be watching.
All right, great. And again, remember, like if you just grab one idea from this and start running with it, you're going to change your candidate experience. So when I Google HubSpot careers, this is what comes up. Here's their career page. They're saying, let's grow together. And they tell us we're building a culture at HubSpot where amazing people like you can do their best work. If you're ready to grow your career and help millions of organizations grow better, you've come to the right place. So immediately they're inviting you into something and inviting you into the mission. And if you're ready to go looking and see what jobs are there, you click on see all open positions. But you know what? I'm curious. I want to see a little bit more. Maybe I don't know what HubSpot is. So what is HubSpot? Now, so they've engaged with me. I want to know, is this a company I want to work with? So it's okay for them to start talking about themselves right now. But what we've been telling people is if you're putting out a job description and people are checking it out, you want to help the candidate see themselves in the role. And I think the way that HubSpot is talking about the company, they're really putting the people that work there first, and they're really showing what it's like to be there. So they say they're talking about HubSpot being a leading CRM platform, so whatever. But they go on and they say your best work starts here. And so I'll just read you, like they've got bolded things that appeal to people. Like there's no inner circle. Oh, great. You know what? I'm not going to be left out of the loop. Everyone's empowered to work autonomously. Oh, I can work from home or wherever I want. Diverse perspectives are celebrated. Okay. They have the diversity, equity, and inclusion covered, and employees are treated like people, not like items. Well, I like that. So those are their key aspects, and you can read more if you want. So that's what we're saying is just make sure that the key elements are really eye-catching. And then down here, oh, what's this? A video. What advice would you like to give me on the job or on being successful on the job? So let's see. It's a video. Uh-oh. There's a spinning wheel of death going, and I tried this before, and it spun for about an hour. So none of these videos work. Someone should bring that to their attention.
And
So
honestly, and we
you,
knew that, right, Paul? I mean, when we were running through
yeah,
this, we're like, these videos don't work. And a couple of weeks later, the videos still don't work. And as Paul said, that's the kiss of death. This is a really cool feature that you could hear from real employees doesn't work. So in our case studies, we're not just showing you all the fluff. We're going to show you some skeletons if they exist on these sites too.
yeah, and so these things can hurt you. And remember at that company, they had none of their links were working on their careers page. Like
Yeah,
check
I
these
I
things.
had a client that was complaining that their applicant pool had dried up, and they are a corporation with several different divisions, and it was specific to one division. And so I went out to the page, and every job that I clicked on to learn more and apply, I got the dreaded 404 error message. And so I called the HR manager and said, well, no wonder you're not getting any candidates. Every single link for every single job you've got on that page is broken. Again, kiss of death. People aren't coming back to you when they have those kinds of experiences.
Yeah, make sure that your site is working. And then what I love about HubSpot here is their culture code here. And what they've done is they have, and we will be covering the importance of culture and putting together an employment brand story in upcoming webinars. But here, what they've done is they've got their employment brand laid out for you, and it's 128 pages. So yeah, I'm not going to click through that, but I went through it, and it was brilliant because it talked about how they are built on their people, and they want people that add to their culture, and always talks about what is it like to add yourself to their company and bring your best there. And so they set their standards, they show their values, but they show how it is to share in their values and work and live the values. So I really love that. And if you need any insights on how you can put together something like this for your site, again, talk to us at the end of the webinar and I can give you some pointers. And we can get some time where we can actually look that up, look that over on your site. And then here you can see how big HubSpot is. They say where we work, and you can see they've got Amsterdam, Berlin, Bogota. Then they've got closer to home, Cambridge. They got Dublin, Ireland, Belgium. So they're global. They're everywhere, and they have remote opportunities. So it doesn't matter where you are, you could work at HubSpot. Isn't that great? Like, you know, if you want to check out some of these great cities, these countries, there's a job for you there. And then I like this. I love this because they say picture yourself at HubSpot, and then they show pictures of people, you know, these two people working outside at HubSpot. Here's a pride parade. Here's a guy with his a dad with his child on his back. So they're just showing what it's like to be an employee. And they go on to say, check us out at HubSpot Life. So I click on that and I'm on Instagram, and now you've got employees posting about what's going on behind the scenes at HubSpot. So you've got a picture, a window into the company without having to go there. And that's brilliant because now people can interact with that. They can comment, like, love, and they can get responses. And this is what I'm talking about, the interactive and engaging element of it. Okay, so I think I've seen enough. Oh wait, you know, let's see if it's trustworthy. And then we click on this, and we can read reviews from is it Glassdoor? You see, pull it up. Yeah, Glassdoor, and we see that yes, they have a 4.3 star rating, and we can see how employees have felt about it. We can see current employees, people who've left, and you can see that their rating is pretty good. So the trust score is up there, and you can see that they've won best workplaces. So I'm thinking, hey, you know, maybe I'll check out their open positions. And then what they've done is they've sorted them. I can see by location, I can choose by department, I can choose by language, I can choose by role, and I can see all the open ones and just browse through them. So that's great. And then what if I want to apply? Well, let's see. What do you do? What's recruiting like at HubSpot? So if you're considering submitting your resume, let's check out the recruiting process. And they want to make your candidate experience remarkable, the topic of this webinar. So first they tell you that they really want you to get a job here. We're on your side. And then they tell you that their recruiting principles, these are the recruiting principles that they have and you can count on. So they want to keep their culture strong and they want you to add to the culture. They're not trying to make you fit in. Great. Resumes aren't everything. There's no such thing as a perfect resume. That's why college degrees aren't required for many roles and career gaps or switches are welcome. So they're saying, hey, you know, bring yourself, like, don't worry. We want to consider you. We want to give you the benefit of the doubt. We want to hear you out. And then they're transparent about compensation. So they're going to tell you up front what kind of pay that they're offering. And you know what's interesting is that the biggest complaint that people had about HubSpot was that they paid less than most companies, but overall people were more satisfied with them. So you can see that if you are doing this well, you don't have to get in that war, that bidding war, and keep offering more and more, because people will still work for you for great culture, a place where they can express themselves and do great work. And those things can, in some cases, be valued more than money. Mm-hmm. Then they're explaining what their recruiters want from you. Their recruiters aren't there to screen you out. They're there to actually screen you in. They want to give you every chance that you have to succeed. So they're here to support you through the process. And they're telling you that, hey, we prepare for interviews too. So let us help you prepare. And they want your feedback. So once you've applied, remember I said that they want people want to hear from you. They want to hear what's going on. How am I doing in the process? So they tell you right away what to expect. Submit an application. You're going to get a recruiter phone interview if you qualify. They'll do an assessment. You're going to get a manager phone interview after the recruiter talks to you. And if you pass that, then it's going to be the face-to-face interview. And then if that goes well, they'll let you know that you made it to the decision stage. And should you get the job, then they go into the hiring and onboarding phase. So that's what happens. And then they tell you how to prepare for your interview. And they go to put your fears to rest because they know it's stressful. They know that there's a lot of competition out there, and they help you to stand out on the job. So here you've got an interviewer with a recruiter about what they're looking for and how to best prepare for that interview. And they have a video on how to stand out from the crowd. And then they have a whole bunch of Q&A about it. So overall, what they've done really well is they've shown transparency through all parts of the recruiting funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And they've explained it very well in a detailed manner. And you can get more insights anywhere you want. So I love this site. If the videos had worked, then we would have probably given it 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do you have
10
any
out of
thoughts
10
on that
review
before?
without the videos.
Yeah. Before I pass it over to you, anything that caught your eye on this site?
No, I mean, you and I have talked, and for the folks in the webinar here, as you can see, this is a big company, obviously, but it's not perfect either. And one of the things we often hear is, oh, well, we've got limited budget. We're just a small company, and that's fine. We can only do what we can do within the constraints that we have. And so what we don't want you to do is look at these case studies and say, oh my gosh, we can't do all that stuff. That's okay. This is pie in the sky. So you look at it and say, okay, what can we do? What's the gap between that and where we are? And how can we close that up a little bit? How can we, make ourselves more attractive? And I'm going to talk you through another case study, and then we'll go back to that recruiting funnel, so you can then again see how each of those 6 steps of the funnel were addressed. I mean, HubSpot, it was almost perfectly clear how they address those things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And let's take a look at another great careers page, and that's for Salesforce. I'm hoping that most of you are familiar with Salesforce. Your sales teams are probably using it. But as Paul said, take a look right off the bat. It says, hey, join us at Salesforce. But look at this. If you believe in bringing companies and customers together in business as the greatest platform for change and creating a more equitable and sustainable future for all, well, you're in the right place. It's all about you. So you're looking at jobs, you've heard of Salesforce, you start reading it, and right away, oh my gosh, it's about me. And then it says, okay, here's what we do with AI and data, and we help companies blaze new trails to achieve their goals. Next sentence. And we empower you to be a trailblazer to driving your performance and growth, charting your new career path. Are you ready to join us? So they've told us that, hey, everything that we want to do for our customers and what our goals are for our customers, those are our goals for the people that work with us. Very, very powerful statement to start things off with. Here's their get to know us. So you can go in to their story, how they started, and their goal of building stronger relationships. If you're a techie, maybe because this is a computer-based company, maybe you want to know about the tech. You can go in there and see what that's like. But take a look at this, our teams. From engineering to employee success, we support each other. We develop great leaders, encourage everyone to be themselves at work. So I was like, oh, I want to know about their teams. Let's check this out. Find your team. Now look at this. Oh, I want to be in sales. I want to be on the tech side. I want to be in the customer success side and be in marketing. So I can learn about the various departments. And because most of you are probably HR, let's click on HR. Oh, what's HR doing? What's that all about? You'll change jobs. Will the job change you? And they go into, here are some actual quotes from employees about what life is like working for them. So powerful. Paul and I worked with an engineering firm recently that was trying to break into a new marketplace. And they were, going from a little regional market into a major city market. And one of the things, this was a great, mid-size engineering firm. And on their website, it was all about the work that they did. There was nothing about employees. And we helped them transform their page into something more like this, where let's interview some employees and figure out what's the magic sauce that's working here. And so when we got that message out, they had no problem staffing up their new office in a major city, because the engineers they were drawing in were sick and tired of working for the big boys where they were just a cog in the wheel. They wanted to actually be working on projects. It was amazing. And I can dig even deeper into some of these. And again, look at what Salesforce is doing, how to ace your interview. They want you to be successful. And that's really cool. I feel like a lot of organizations view the interview process as one of, I'm looking to weed people out, versus I'm looking to find how I can help someone who's an otherwise good person be a good fit here. And that's a massive mindset shift. I was just recently working with a client. They had an underperforming individual, nice lady, everyone loved her, not performing in her job. And, performance review after performance review, she was substandard. And they're like, Ed, we don't know what to do with her. We love her, but she's no good at her job. And so I took a look at her employee file, and I'm going through things, and I found her original resume. And I found out that she had a huge background in marketing, but she wasn't in marketing for this client. And so I chatted with her and said, hey, why didn't you come into marketing? She said, well, I always wanted to work for this organization. They didn't have marketing, anything open, but they had that job and I was qualified, so I got it. She goes, I know I'm kind of failing, Ed. Well, they had a marketing position open. So I talked to the director. We moved her over. The woman is thriving and she's head of the marketing function now. So again, it's all about how we position those kinds. Can we position those kinds of stories that, hey, we're here for you. When you join us, you're joining our team, and we want you to be successful, because we know if you're successful, we're successful. So let's go back to their home page here. Much like HubSpot, they're in different hubs, 29 countries. So no matter where you're at in the world, there's probably some place that you can work there. And you go down through, you can see all the different things. We're assuming these are people that are working in these different areas. Love this one. So with HubSpot, Paul found that little culture thing that you could dig into. This is a little more simplified. And it's six items here that are related, or excuse me, 5 items, I can count, I promise, that are their values. And so really what they're telling us is that, hey, this guides our business and how we work with our stakeholders. Well, who are the stakeholders? Customers, employees, vendors. This is everything we want to be a part of. And again, you can click on any one of these and say, oh, well, there's trust. What are they doing about trust? Why is trust so important? And we can read down here and take a look at this. This is exactly where the various products they're working on are at in development right now. How cool is that? They're transparent, not only with their customers, but with potential employees about, oh, well, if I want to work on one of these projects, what's going on with it? It's amazing to me that a company would be that open with what's going on with them. If you're into sustainability and the environment, climate change, hey, they're all about it. Learn more about what they're doing. Then I love this. Here we can apply for an open role. They've got a couple of different areas here, and then we can search jobs. I'm not going to go to that. It's almost identical to what HubSpot's doing. You can go in, you can search by department, job type, role, all of those things that we saw with HubSpot. But again, look at this trust factor. These are different accolades from organizations outside of Salesforce saying, hey, this place is a pretty cool place to be. And I really love this one. Find us around the world. And take a look at the pictures. The pictures represent employees from those parts of the world. I mean, that sounds very basic, but you'd be amazed at how often we see situations like this, and people are, or organizations aren't grabbing the regular pictures of the regular folks working there. They're going with stock photography, or they're snapping a couple shots in the corporate office and then blasting it out as, oh, this is what people all over our footprint look like. And that's just not the case. Here's more about life at Salesforce. And you can click into any one of these to learn about rising leaders, or, hey, I want to move abroad. What is that like? Salesforce has a job in another country. I think I'd want to do it, but gosh, that's a big life shift. How is, the engineering piece changing? And these are all real people, real-time photos of folks. Follow us on social. Paul talked about driving the awareness and getting them to take that next baby step. Here's the way someone does it. I'm not sure I want to apply for Salesforce just yet, but look at these ways I can stay in sync with the organization. So they're driving the awareness, they're driving your interest. And it's just like the breadcrumbs. Hansel and Gretel followed the breadcrumbs. We want people to follow the breadcrumbs. Only we're not taking them to the witch's house to the oven. We're taking them because we want them to follow the breadcrumbs to our application stage and get them in our funnel as an applicant so we can nurture that process. So, overall, I love this site. They end up with, we can't wait to meet you. Join our community. You click on that and in you go to apply. So you can search for jobs, or this link actually just takes you to, hey, submit your resume and we'll see what's going on. And then they get into all the things that we would expect to see, that, they're a diverse organization. If you need an accommodation, you can click. Their equal opportunity information is out here. This is a great site. I think the only thing I'd like to see is more video. They've got some great action photo shots, but some videos. And if you go deeper, we see some. I'd like to see some out here on this particular page. Paul, anything you want to add before I toss it back to you?
Yeah, just the video doesn't have to be anything more than something shot on here, somebody talking to, just ask somebody that's happy working in your company and ask them to say something to people that are applying, or to say something about the role that's being applied for, and then just make sure it works.
Absolutely. All right, shooting it back to you.
All right, screen share up. Salesforce. So we'll just get into the final stretch here and wrap it up, and then we'll open up for questions. So back to this candidate journey and the candidate recruiting funnel. So we've basically touched on all aspects of what a curated candidate experience should be by going through these sites. So we talked about awareness, and the awareness of HubSpot or Salesforce probably comes because many of us are customers of them. But what are you doing that generates awareness? Are you doing anything out there to increase the publicity of people working at your company? And then as far as generating interest, we saw that some of the companies have recruiters that go to universities, or that will set up at career events where they're recruiting for people. So that can be a way of generating interest. And then when you get to the website, the candidate nurturing, what is being done for consideration and application? And what we really liked when we saw HubSpot and Salesforce was that it said, not ready to apply yet? Well, just join our community, become part of the people that are, looking and scoping out the jobs at Salesforce. And it's a lot like when you go to a company website and you want to find out more information about a product, or you sign up for a free, white paper or a free download about how to solve a certain problem and use their product. Like, I sign up for things all the time, and I'm sure you do as well. And then you get all these things in your inbox, but it's a way to stay connected. So perhaps you have something that can keep you connected to the pool of candidates out there, but wouldn't it be nice to have a pool of viable candidates just sort of sitting there for you to choose from that you've curated, instead of every time you have an opening going back to the old drawing board and trying to cast a big net out to the whole world trying to find somebody, instead of to that pond that you've already created of people that have an interest in your company. And then when we get to the actual application process, is there a way that you could make it better? Make the way that they look through the jobs on your site better? Do they have to jump around from site to site, or is it contained like it is in Salesforce? So if you want to have that checked out and you want to go through that and look at it with us, again, like we said, we're happy to spend some time. We'll spend about 30 minutes and we can go through your site with you and give you some pointers. And then finally, when you get to interview and hire, maybe you could spend a little time listing the steps in your process of what it's like to apply and just put it up on the site. That's maybe a next step for you. And maybe you can actually get the recruiter or a person from HR who's in charge of onboarding to again record a message and put it up, something that's inviting and saying, hey, this is who's on the other side of this portal. There's a real person there that is really waiting to welcome you. So maybe from this talk, you can write down just one takeaway or one next step that you want to take to improve your candidate experience. And I hope that going through all this is helpful. And I know it's like a fire hose, but all you need to do is take one step. And I want you to know also that, like, this, first of all, this webinar is going back up on the site on edcrow.com, so you can go back and grab any sort of tidbits or go check out Salesforce and HubSpot as sort of a template. And the other thing is that our next webinar is actually a deeper dive into this funnel, where we'll be going into the different things that you can be doing in the awareness aspect, interest, consideration, apply, interview, and hire. And we're also open to taking any questions. So if you want to deep dive on the funnel, the full-on webinar on that is going to be in August 14th at noon.
And actually you can register for that now. So if you registered through my website for this, edcrow.com/webinars, you can either sign up for all our monthly webinars with one click, or if you're interested in hearing more about that funnel, just that one in August, you can go and sign up for individual webinars. And I know that we have talked about some other things that we've covered in previous webinars. That's also where you're going to find all our previous recordings out there.
Yeah, and like I said earlier in the talk, if you do want to have a little bit of Eds in my time and get our eyes on your careers page, and or even have a look at one of your job postings, because we can give you feedback on how to make that more eye-catching. That's something that we're really happy to do for our community at no charge. We'll book about 30 minutes together, and all you got to do is scan this QR code and fill out the little web form, and we will get back to you to set up a time. And other than that, I'd like to toss it out. If there are any burning questions out there, and while you got Ed and I here on the line, we can see if we can answer them, because I know we've thrown a lot your way. And sometimes it's just a matter of going, hey, what is it that I can do? Because a lot of times there's just, we understand how it is in HR. It's like you're just putting out fires, and there's stuff coming at you from above down and people below. Like you're just you're being bombarded. So it's like, how do I just do one more thing? So we'll see if we can make this easier for you.
Yes, you can go ahead and unmute, or if you're bashful and you'd like to throw a question in the chat, we have a couple minutes that we can handle any questions you might have about this content, or maybe it's something that's related that we didn't specifically talk about and you want to know about.
Okay, don't have any questions, but thank you. Appreciate that. And if there are no other questions, let's get you back so you can wolf down some lunch if you haven't already, and give you a little bit more time in your day.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Again, if you want information on future webinars, edcrow.com/webinars. And it'll take us about a week to get this recording up there for you if you want to go back and get it. So give us some time to do the editing on that. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you again at a future webinar, or better yet, book that call and see you online for a call to chat about your website. Thanks again.
Have a great day.